Nope.
What? I do not.
They help me do my homework, study for tests. They give me access to information to learn whatever I want.
They help me with stuff like on-the-go things like sending emails or checking our school's eCampus, which is where you can check for enrollment stuff and grades like that. And it also helps me for doing stuff like fantasy sports, checking my fantasy football team, and getting score updates from ESPN.
It's easier to take notes in class. It's easier to talk to your friends.
I think technology itself needs to develop more, but it needs to cut down on the stuff that makes it so you literally can't go an hour without checking your phone.
What type of stuff would you like to see developed?
I don't know, like war's bad. Maybe stop that. No, but stuff like, just like in third world countries, like so they can become more advanced and stuff.
More technology, the better.
Why?
That's how we evolve.
Let's see here, like just total like electronic stuff.
A printer? Well, it's technically a computer.
Like not electronics.
No, electronics, but
What
something that's not like a
that's
laptop
all I
or a phone.
use. My iPad, that's all the electronics I use.
It didn't occur to me just how clueless some people were about the technology that they use every single day. Sure, we have things like phones and computers, but what do we use besides that? Fortunately, I've developed this presentation in order to help some people answer that question. This also should open some people's eyes to the ways technology enhances our human capabilities daily. Briefly, these are a few things that are coming up in the presentation that should help in understanding the technology around you. This outline, as well as all the content presented in this presentation, all stems from these web pages that I've created. As you look through them, it has numerous information about the topics that I will cover in the presentation. However, I will mention at the end that you should definitely come back and explore these web pages, as it has more in-depth information than what I provide in my presentation. First of all, before we completely begin, there are a few simple definitions we must know before moving forward. Technology is just the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, and machinery and equipment developed from the application of scientific knowledge. Human capability is the extent of the power or ability a human has, and data analysis is the process of systematically applying statistical and or logical techniques to describe and illustrate, condense and recap, and evaluate data. We'll cover data analysis in a bit. This is a tough topic to condense into a limited amount of information, just because the topic is so broad. The point I'm trying to make, however, is that increasing technologies wouldn't be possible without the use of computers. There's a reason that we use computers every day. It simply just makes tasks easier for us, helps us organize, gives us an access to a plethora of information. It's convenient for communication, and computers allow us to depict information using numerous applications, software, and programs. This leads us to the next slide. When performing data analysis, it is easier to use computers when dealing with large amounts of data. Computers can make repetitive calculations rapidly and accurately while collecting information. This reduces the chance of human error. With the information and calculations provided, a computer can be used to produce multiple graphs and charts to represent the condensed information, which is pretty much the main task of data analysis. Data analysis allows us to make a more informative and condensed look at the data provided. Now let's look at an example of a spreadsheet that I created over the middle of the semester. Now, this is a pretty simple example of data analysis. However, it will work for the point that I'm trying to portray. So, throughout the course of the Computer Science 101 semester, we were given a bunch of different grades on all of our different assignments, which we were supposed to put into this spreadsheet. As you can see, quizzes, homework, participation, all that is within this document. Now, another sub-spreadsheet includes all the quiz grades, all the homework grades, and then the participation and project grades. This is just a Google spreadsheet, which is pretty much the exact same thing as an Excel sheet. Now, what I did for this was that I originally set up these two sheets to begin with and put in this equation for the weighted average, which is right here. The weighted average is just the sum of all my points divided by the sum of the total points multiplied by 25, which is the weighted average. To understand what all the weighted averages mean, we look at this chart. Every single percentage on here is the weighted average of that category. So homework is the most heavily weighted category of the grades and is 45% of your total grades. By looking at this pie chart, we are able to condense a plethora of information into one single document. Now, one neat thing about this application is that if I wanted to change information, like all of these grades in here, say these 3 zeros that I didn't get in a row, but for the sake of the assignment, let's just go with it. Say I wanted to change it to 3 straight 5s. That ups my total quiz grade from 13 to 19, pretty much. And all I had to do was just put in the information, and the computer did the rest. So that's just definitely one convenient thing about using an application on the computer. Now, the biggest question is what stems from data analysis. We know that it's comparing and interpreting data. However, where does that get us? As I stated before, when we use data analysis, we can make decisions on products or even theories that in turn can help us create and build new technologies. So, if you think about it, data analysis through computers enhances our ability to create products that also enhance our ability. One example of this is gear made for humans to use and wear in extreme weather conditions. But what about the technologies that we encounter every day? Well, you may not realize it, but small computers are built within many common household items. Those, along with other items, include kitchen and cleaning appliances like fridges and freezers and microwaves that might have a little computer device within them, vehicles that have GPSs and rear view cameras, prescription drugs like performance enhancers, and then just computers in general. The common apps and computers can help for organizing and scheduling and everyday activities, just like the example that I just showed you. The list goes on. Now we move from luxuries to necessities. Perhaps the most influential example of this whole topic is the use of assistive technologies. These are assistive, adaptive, and rehabilitative devices for people with disabilities. The key example that we're going to elaborate on is cochlear implants. The Huffington Post released an article that caught my eye one day. They put out a story of a woman named Alex Clay who was introduced to a cochlear implant. She received the implant and once revisiting doctors was able to hear for the first time in 10 years. It's pretty neat stuff, right? But she isn't the only one. As of 2013, 324,000 people had received cochlear implants. This device is very different from hearing aids, as it is actually installed beneath the ear, between the ear and the brain. This technology is allowing profoundly deaf people to hear for the very first time. Now, as we go to the next page, let's see this in action. Just watch the baby's reaction once the device is turned on.
Here we go, it's coming back on, and he's back on again. See how he turns?
Hi, Jonathan.
Stop the sucking.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good.
That's
Could you
real good.
hear that? Hi, sweetie.
Okay, now how cool was that? Additional information on assistive technologies can be found on my webpage and by following the links that I provide on my web pages. To conclude, please visit my webpage. By exploring through the links I provided and reading about the various technologies that enhance our human capabilities, you will learn that these devices are everywhere. All these creations help make us achieve more. For example, as I showed before, simple technologies such as an Excel spreadsheet is easy to use and can help us organize and interpret large amounts of data in a short period of time. The more you learn, the more you can grow. This semester in Computer Science 101, I've learned to interpret and understand computer file data that can lead me to acknowledging where a file was sent from, where it was created, and through what network it was sent. Through this final project, I learned how to create a web page from ground zero. The more you understand computers, the more you can build, the more you can develop, and the more you can evolve. The more we evolve, then the more likely we will be able to create whatever we want. These technologies that enhance human capability are only a small example of our evolution in the world of technology and computers. That wraps it up.